Oh, hey there, everybody, on SpeedGaming 3. Welcome to another edition of Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide Wednesday, the Final Fantasy VI Open World Randomizer. I'm the Schwantz27, and I'm joined tonight by Cheech doing some of the tracking. So thank you so much, Cheech, for pushing the buttons behind the scene. What are we looking at this evening? Well, with Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide Randomizer, the goal is to unlock and defeat Final Kefka. So in order to do that, our runners have to do 2 of the following 3 objectives. They have to recruit 9 characters, find 8 espers, or defeat 8 dragons. So those gold numbers at the bottom there, we're going to have to get to 2 of those 3, not necessarily all 3 of them. And Cheech has already put in that we are starting with 2 characters for our members, so we're starting with 2, and we also start with between 2 and 3 espers. We don't know exactly how many we are until we hit the new game option. This is a chaos seed, so what does that mean? The runners don't know what the flags are until they load up the seed and look at it. So Jex Varrock is scrolling through the list of flags. I have a bunch of them listed down here that I could rattle off to you, and then if we want, we could talk about what the game actually is, and you could ask me any questions in the chat if you'd like to. So our runners are able to zoom around the map with the B dash flag. You can hold B to dash around at twice the speed. Free checks will not reward progression, so that you won't find a character or an esper at a free check. We have vanilla chests, so we have to test our vanilla game knowledge here. Vanilla chests. So I'm expecting runners will dive into KT early in this seed, because there's a lot of good treasure in Kefka's Tower. There's also a lot of good treasure in places like Mount Zozo, and basically every clock has an elixir, so we're going to see a lot of those this seed. Also, the shops are completely empty, so the only way that we'll be able to get loot is to go do the vanilla chest or to kill some enemies, because there is a 100% steal rate, and they are shuffled and randomized as to what the enemies will drop. So the Katana Soul will no longer drop an offering, but a Lowly Lobo can drop something like an offering or a Ragnarok or something fun. Our equipables are set to the original if they were in the vanilla game, plus 61% random. However, the relics are only equipable by 4 to 7 random characters. So normally we're going to want to find things like earrings or hero rings, but your characters may or may not equip them this seed. There's also an objective in here to learn some dances by defeating some bosses, which will be interesting if we come with a dance character. Our espers are only able to be equipped by 7 balanced characters. So that esper with the really good magic on it, you may not be able to actually use it here. Let's give our runners the 1-minute warning here. Also, as I was talking about earlier, the enemies in this game are scaled based on a particular factor. In this case, it's based on in-game time. So every 1.5 minutes, our enemies will go up 1 level. So that basically means that at minute 10, our enemies will be level 5. So that's pretty good. Question from the chat. Can you dive into Kefka's Tower with 2 characters? Actually, you cannot. So I'm expecting that our runners go and get a 3rd character in order to go into Kefka's Tower, because you need at least 3 lanes for 3 party members. So the scaling is based on time with a maximum scaling of 65. So our runners are going to want to cut short their looting phase, and considering there's vanilla chests, we have to be pointed as to where we want to go. And we'll start taking on some enemies. We do have B dash as a movement option, so at least we can get to the treasure rather quickly. The spells on espers are also shuffled, as well as them only being able to be equipped by 7 balanced characters. The MP on spells is random between 43 and 98. So there's going to be some very costly magic in this seed. And 11% of the forced encounters in this game will be bosses. So we're going to have to see if any of our runners run into any of those things. Let's get our runners off and running here. They'll be going in just a few minutes. I am going to do a little bit better cropping for you here, because there's some bars at the top and bottom, and I I think we should definitely do a better job of cropping that. So what is Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide? Basically, it is a game where you start with the airship and you can go anywhere in the base Final Fantasy VI vanilla game. The places that will give you rewards, either characters, espers, or high-tier items, are based on the characters that you have recruited. So the individual areas or world events of the game will open based on who's in our party. So I'll see who our first two characters are, and that will dictate where we could actually go in order to get better rewards. So usually the checks that get opened up have to deal with the story beats in the vanilla game. So for instance, for Locke, right, we do find him at the Phoenix Cave in the world of Ruin, right? So the Phoenix Cave is an area that he opens up. He'll also open up the Narsh weapon shop as a particular area. And oh my goodness, the dream. We start with Gogo and Umaro. Oh my goodness. Man, I feel so bad for our runners. This is heinously awful. We do start with a bunch of Phoenix Downs and Warp Stones, so Hefe is going to head on over to the Zone Eater Cave right away. This perfectly makes sense here. Let's go get the stuff in here. It is a World of Ruin dungeon after all, so we're going to go ahead and do that. This is very, very cruel. Unfortunately, a lot of the treasure chests in the World of Balance areas are going to be pretty bad. Nobody War headed off to the Colosseum there in order to go pick that chest out, and he is going to go take a couple of grind fights here. And unfortunately for Gogo and Umaro, Gogo can normally equip different commands based on the characters you've already recruited, and the commands in Worlds Collide are completely randomized between the characters. However, since Umaro only has Yeti Smash, Gogo can't really equip any characters. So this is going to be a fun treat for us tonight, folks. And they could all blame me later on for rolling the seed. This is quite awful. Let me sync up these runners a little bit here. Just give me 1 second while I do that. Let's see if this helps us out here. I did not see if there was an Esper at the Tizen Thief. It'll usually tell you when or what the Tizen Thief is selling, essentially. All right, hopefully I've synced them up pretty well. They're close enough. I think Jesus the Frog needs an extra second here. Meanwhile, Hefe is getting towards the end of the Zone Eater belly, so we're going to see what that reward is here in just a second. But you can see how much better the gear is in the World of Ruin areas than in the World of Balance areas now that we're seeing from Hefe down in Zone Eater, and that is Sabin in Zone Eater. Thank goodness we have another character who could actually do things. So that is the third character there for Hefe with Sabin. So let's talk about the different places that we can go with these characters. As we've already seen, we have the Zone Eater Belly, which is the only check that Gogo has. And then we have the Yeti Cave in the World of Ruin Narsh, which is where you recruit Umaro. That is Umaro's only check. Sabin, however, opens up 5 different areas of the game. The first of which is the Collapsing House here in the World of Ruin, where you recruit him. We also have the Imperial Camp, where Kefka tries to poison the soldiers at Doma in the vanilla game. We have Barren Falls, which is where you jump off of and you fight those pesky piranhas. We also have the Phantom Train, which is that famous iconic place where Sabin gets to suplex said train. Sabin may not have Blitz. I didn't see what his command was, so we might not get a train suplex in this seed. Hefe forgetting about the empty shops, of course, force of habit there. I know that even on an empty shops flag, I will sometimes do that. And the last spot is Mount Colt. So those are the 5 different areas that Sabin opens up, and Hefe accidentally gets caught in the sky. Oh, man. So you can run into the Doomgaze tile in this game, and unfortunately, Hefe has done it, ladies and gentlemen. He's run into the Flame Eater in the sky. So the bosses in Worlds Collide can be randomized, so they can appear multiple times. they could be vanilla or they could be shuffled. And in this case, they have chosen to be shuffled. So Flame Eater will only appear once in the entire game, and it's going to be right here in the sky, and we won't have to fight him ever again. I don't know if Hefe saved recently, so this is quite a bummer if he hasn't saved, because this is a potential wipe with not much he could do about it here. Jexrock, meanwhile, running away from the Zoneer, and that is a throw Sabin. Oh, that would be so good if we had shops. But since we do not have shops, we are not able to go buy throwables. That is really, really unfortunate. And it looked like we did start with 3 Espers there, because I just saw Jesus the Frog pull up his menu. So let's go ahead and indicate that on all of our runners there, that we did start with 3 Espers. And we've got 3 characters now in some of our cases as well. So the other interesting thing is that the dragons are shuffled amongst themselves and the bosses are shuffled amongst themselves. You can mix the 2 of them together, but that is not an option in this particular seed. And it looks like Jesus the Frog is going to immediately head to the collapsing house, which is one of Sabin's checks, as we mentioned. $37,000. That is a Odin Esper there. Our runners did start with a chunk of money. However, since there's nothing to buy in any of the shops, we are going to keep that money. And it looks like we do have timers on. So timers are pretty interesting. So Jesus has about 4.5 minutes to get out of this collapsing house before it drops. And it looks like he is skipping over those monster in a boxes. With the randomized drops and steals, the monster in a boxes are much less incentivized, because normally we're looking for things like the pugs that drop Minervas, the katana soul that drops an offering, things like that. But with those shuffled drops and steals, that is not necessarily the case. Nobody War, meanwhile, doing some grind fights here. We do give our runners 3 Moogle Charms, 1 for each party inside of Kefka's Tower, in order to avoid those random encounters. However, you can take the Moogle Charm off if you would like to run into these random encounters, and that's what he is doing in order to gain some levels, because remember, the scaling is based on time here. So every 1.5 minutes, our enemies will go up 1 level. So at minute 10, they will be level 5. At minute 20, they'll be level 10, etc., all the way up to a maximum scaling of 65. So Jexrock did get his Sabin. I did not see what was at the end of Collapsing House there on Jesus the Frog screen, but looking on their tracker, on their Twitch page, it does not look like it was an Esper or a character, and that is because we have the no free progression flag on. And basically what that means is any check that does not involve a battle will not be a character or an Esper. There are a couple of exceptions to that rule. Gogo's Zone Eater Cave is one of those exceptions, because that is Gogo's only check. And here we see Nobody War going after a chest that I've only ever seen in the vanilla speedrun for the Atlas armlet there. Huge, awesome game knowledge there from Nobody War. Hefe, meanwhile, is still on this Flame Eater fight. Please just go away, big ball of fire. I don't think that Hefe will die here, because I believe Flame Eater is out of MP, and Flame Eater doesn't do any regular attacks, but this fight is just taking forever. And unfortunately for Sabin, who's lying face down on the ground, he won't get any MP from this fight. Oh no, a Madam Outsider fight. Please run away, Nobody War. Thank goodness. Whew! That is one of the most difficult random encounters in the entire game. Yeah, so the time scaling is really going to hurt Hefe here, as Zelly mentions in the chat, because every second that Hefe is stuck in this fight, all of the enemies are going up and up and up in terms of scaling, and thankfully, Flame Eater is down. I think had Hefe saved after he did Zone Eater, then he would have reset out of this fight here, but he does get 4 sets of flash tools, for which we will never need, and a set of Tiger Fangs, which is really, really nice. And an Esper, most importantly of all, and it is Shiva. And who knows how many of our other runners will get that Esper, because as I mentioned, he just ran into that flying around in the sky because of the Doomgaze spot. If we get Setzer, we are able to pick the Doomgaze spot as a check automatically with that airship. However, if you don't have Setzer, you can still run into it as we did just there. Jesus the Frog looking, there it is. It's that pot with the hero ring. Raiden has got Fire 3 on it, so not a terrible Esper there. And we did start with 3 Espers, so that means our bosses are going to be kind of chunky, because the boss HP and MP is based on characters plus Espers plus dragons times 2. And here we see Hefe going to dive into Kefka's Tower. Same with Jesus the Frog. This is where all the really, really good loot is. There's a set of fixed ice that you can pick up in here. There's a Minerva in here. What else is in here? There's another Tax Star, because I know that we've got somebody to throw. So definitely a good option to go into Kefka's Tower early when you've got this sort of thing going on here where you've got vanilla chests. So we can see some of these vanilla chests here. And with the B-dash option, moving through the tower is going to be way faster than it normally is there. Nobody More, meanwhile, is down into the belly of the beast. We'll grab their Sabin as soon as they are done here with it. We did start off with 10 Phoenix Downs and 6 Warp Stones, which is nice, because remember, the shops are completely empty. And that's one of the things about empty shops, is that it's very hard to buy consumables in this particular case. You don't find a lot of them in chests, unless you go raid some World of Balance areas. Hefe, meanwhile, is running through with this second party member. There aren't any chests beyond that switch for party number 1, which is where Jesus the Frog is here. That's the last chest you could really pick up, the ribbon, and then there's a Force Armor and a Force Shield on the other side here where Gogo is. There's that Force Armor. I think the Force Shield is above that. We do see a Gauntlet coming out of that other room there, and I believe the fixed ice is in one of these paths as well, if we haven't seen that yet already. I actually don't remember what's in this hidden chest here. So this is the chest that I never knew about until the randomizer here. In Kefka's Tower, you have to go all the way down and through the middle there of Kefka's Tower to get that shield. Press 1 in the chat if you learned a new chest location today. Because I know I will sometimes play the Archipelago Multi-World, and we do have a treasure shuffle option where all of the rewards are inside of chests as well. And that's the only way that I knew about that chest, was playing that version of the game. All right, so let's see what Hefe decides to do here. Because remember, his Gogo and his Umaro actually did get some levels from that Flame Eater fight. It looks like Jesus the Frog is heading to the Colosseum. So in the Colosseum, we do have an option to randomize the rewards and the enemies in the Colosseum. And we also have an option where you can list out what the rewards are based on what you're going to bet. So it looks like Jesus the Frog is going to try and win a cat hood here. I don't remember exactly what he bet, but you can see it for some of the items here. Yeah, so a couple of people in the chat have learned a new chest location for today. It's kind of out of the way, and it kind of takes a while because it's one of those hidden chests where you have to get the path exactly right. You can't exactly see where you're going. It's kind of difficult to get back there. It's definitely not a speedy thing. And Hefe here is fighting Ultros. So Ultros number 3 this is. This is the one that we can sketch and have it instantly die. This is at the Inferno spot here in Kefka's Tower. So it looks like Hefe is going to try and continue on. I think there's like 2 or 3 chests after this first boss inside of Kefka's Tower. But I believe most of the good ones are before that. The things like the fixed ice, the Minerva, etc. All right, it looks like Jesus the Frog is going to head up to the World of Ruin Norsh, where we could get the reward from Umaro's Cave. However, we also need to fight the reward at Tritok. So the Tritok Esper Cliff is also up here before you unlock Umaro. And there's also a dragon up here. Now, dragons are completely optional unless you want to go for the Kefka unlock, which requires 4 of them in this particular case. Remember, we need 2 of those 3 gold numbers in order to unlock Kefka. We do get 50 MP for fighting in this fight, and we do get a bunch of experience. However, this is kind of going to be a difficult dragon here, and it looks like Jesus the Frog is going to take that Pearl Rod that he looted out of Kefka's Tower and going to crack it here on the blue dragon. Now, Go-Go can mimic items from your inventory, even if they're not there anymore. So even though Jesus the Frog did use that Pearl Rod in the previous turn, Go-Go is able to mimic it, even though it's not in the inventory anymore. So it makes Go-Go really, really powerful, especially with somebody with throw. Unfortunately, Umaro is going to get to act here before Go-Go can do the mimic of the throw. So you kind of have to work around the timing of Umaro with Go-Go. There's the heel rod, and unfortunately, Jesus the Frog threw it at himself and then threw one at Umaro. Oh no! Oh no. You're not officially a Worlds Collide runner until you do that, folks. F's in the chat there for Jesus the Frog. Meanwhile, Hefe does get through the Inferno boss spot there. A Mega Elixir in a chest. And I believe there's one up here, and there's one more for Sabin to go grab on his way through the tower. It looks like Hefe is going full Yeti here. Going to go ahead and try and take on this dragon here. Unfortunately, a dragon using the stone ability, and oh no. We got Umaro, why are you hitting yourself? And Umaro has the blind status, which actually does work in Worlds Collide. We patched out a lot of the glitches that don't work, and the blind glitch, or the evade bug, is one of those as well. Meanwhile, Jexrock is using that fixed dice that we got from Kefka's Tower to good use, as Go-Go can equip it. So he's taking the Moogle Charm off, same with Nobody War here, to do some grind fights in order to gain some levels for his crew. Maybe learn some spells as well. Meanwhile, Jesus the Frog does get through that dragon. That was the first time. That was not the second time. And let's see. We do get a high-tier item for that, and it is a snow muffler. How cozy. So that is a really good set of gear. And we already have some very good armor for our crew. We've got 2 snow mufflers, a red jacket, and a Genji armor. Meanwhile, Jexrock outside of the Coliseum, so having the same idea here that Jesus the Frog did, going to take a look at the Coliseum to see what he can get. Nobody War running away from some dragons, not some dragons, some ninjas. That's always a good strategy. Haydn and the Hyde Knights is the boss here for Jesus the Frog, and man, he probably wishes he saved that Pearl Rod for this fight, huh? Unlike in the vanilla game, where you can just throw a Phoenix down or a Revivify on this boss, we have removed the undead property from bosses in Worlds Collide, so therefore you have to actually do this the quote-unquote hard way, and that is to throw some stuff at it. We are unfortunately running out of stuff to throw, and that's a downside of having free shots with a throw character, is eventually you'll run out of things to eat. Oh no, what's going on here with the broadcast? Hopefully this is just a temporary thing. I don't know if you're also seeing this too, Cheech?
Yeah, I'm seeing it stutter a little bit.
Okay, it's not just my internet. Well, folks, give me 1 second as we try and sort this out. We've got the music going. Here we go. All right. We just had to smack the stream a couple of times there. Hefe, meanwhile, did defeat that dragon there. So that is his first dragon as well. So both Jesus and Hefe both got their dragon down. I'm glad that it was fine for the viewing pleasure of everybody at home. Meanwhile, Jexrock, unfortunately, gets Intangier, but Intangier uses Pep Up on himself. Oh, no, what is happening here? That is the craziest Coliseum fight I've ever seen. Intangier using Pep Up and then somehow casting another spell even though it's already dead. That was a wild roller coaster, and I'm glad we're all here for it, folks. All right, Hefe is heading out of Kefka's Tower now after clearing out a couple of bosses on that right-hand lane and getting some juicy treasure. Nobody War following in the footsteps of Jesus the Frog here, heading up for Haydn and the Haydn Knights, everybody's favorite Final Fantasy VI jazz band. And Jexvarok does get through another Coliseum fight there. All right, so what is the reward at the Tritok spot? It can only be an Esper or an item, and in this case, it is an Esper there for Jesus the Frog. Nobody War is also going to get this one as well. So this will be their 5th, I believe. Yep, let's go ahead and mark that as number 5. I missed the one that Nobody War got. Hefe jumping off the waterfall for Vargas and the Apple Toilets, the iPoos. This is an interesting one. Vargas, in the vanilla game, you're supposed to use the Pummel Blitz to kill him. So he has a fat stack of HP, actually. So it'll be interesting to see how Hefe deals with this. We do have fixed dice, though, and hopefully we can get some better rolls than that, please, Sabin. Fixed dice will do defense ignoring damage, and it's based off of the dice roll that you have and your character's level. So it doesn't use the traditional damage formula. Meanwhile, Nobody War has to walk all the way back down here in order to hit the healing bucket because they do not have anything to clear off that status ailment. He probably could have used one of his starting warp stones there, but decided against it. He's going to go back for the Umaro reward here. Meanwhile, Jexvarok and Jesus the Frog both into Imperial Camp. Remember, there is a 11% chance that one of these forced encounters will be a boss. So I'm not trying to, commentate or curse it or anything. I'm just throwing that out there as a reminder. This is a merchant sprite as the reward, so this will not be a character here for either one of these two. However, this is a really good way to gain levels because this is 4 forced encounters, and knock on wood, touch wood, whatever, that there are no bosses in this pool. But usually it's just 4 forced encounters and it's not a big deal. Blue Dragon coming up here for Nobody War. And Hefe getting through his fight at the Barren Falls. It looks like we're going to get a Thunder Shield being broken here. And then a Mimic from Nobody War. So if you break a shield, it will do a maximum damage tier 3 level spell. So that is a maximum damage bolt 3, and the Blue Dragon, being the Water Dragon, is actually weak to lightning. So that's why it did so much damage there. Hefe is our first runner with 4 characters, as that is Edgar at the bottom of Barren Falls. So Edgar will open up the Figaro Throne in the World of Balance or the World of Ruin with Health, which is one of Bannon's abilities. So we also have the ability to randomize in temporary commands such as Health and Leo's Shock. Meanwhile, Jexvarok and Jesus the Frog picking up some Espers there. So we'll put that on the board for them. Hefe heading immediately to the Figaro Throne. Since you don't have to fight a battle for this, this will only be an item. It will not be a character or an Esper. Edgar's other 2 checks, though, are not considered free progression. That is the Figaro Engine Room, where you fight the tentacles in the vanilla game, and then the Ancient Castle, where you go down, and there's only 1 reward at the Ancient Castle. There isn't the 2. So it's the reward from, going 2 steps or 5 steps down from the throne and hitting the fake switch and going to get the Esper there at the Esper at the end of the Ancient Castle. Nobody War pulls an Esper out of that Skull and Bones, so it is another Magicite at the Umaro check that is the reward. Nobody War, meanwhile, finding number 128 here. Jesus the Frog hitting up yet another dragon here. So it looks like Jesus the Frog is definitely going for the dragons and possibly Esper's route, because he already has 6 of them. You kind of would like to have more than 3 characters, though, because each character you have means that much more damage. And Hefe is looking in the Coliseum here. Sees an economizer, sees a couple of other things, but decides to gamble here on a leather hat. We don't necessarily show all of the rewards, and this is going to be just a question mark reward. Meanwhile, Jexarok in the Phantom Train did pick up an Esper in the caboose, so you can pick up the reward in the Phantom Train prior to actually going and completing the check. So that's what he did. Nobody more, meanwhile, forgetting that he has Warp Stones in his inventory, or maybe just didn't know that he has Warp Stones in his inventory, but B-Dash makes this walk of shame a lot better. However, he's got 6 Espers now. Jesus the Frog will get their 4th character here in Edgar at the bottom of Barren Falls. And then we'll see where our runners decide to go next. Yeah, because as of right now, we kind of have, either Gogo or Sabin using the fixed dice, and then question mark as our other offense. So we're going to try and see what our runners do for finishing out the rest of the seed here, because it's not really clear to me where the endgame builds are just yet. I haven't seen any tier 3 elemental spells. I haven't seen any big swords. Throw is usually a command that's good enough to carry you till the end of the seed. However, with empty shops, it's going to be very difficult to accrue enough items to throw them at people. Another French vanilla Sabin check boss. So we saw Vargas, which is the boss of Mount Colts, where Nobody War is. And we see Piranhas, which is the boss of Barren Falls here at the end of the Phantom Train. Just kind of interesting to see our bosses being sort of vanilla bean or vanilla extract, I guess you would call that, amongst our Sabin checks. Oh no, we got a confused Yeti on Hefe's screen that just body slammed into Sabin there. Meanwhile, Rizopus is down. So Rizopus in the vanilla game comes out after a certain duration of time, and usually runners will use an audio cue to know when they come out. That is 5 flame shields that those piranhas dropped. Oh, baby. That is huge for Jexarok there. Jesus the Frog, meanwhile, as I mentioned, going to grab his Edgar. And Hefe having a disaster of a time here at the Skulldurgan. It is Dullahan for Nobody War, so not a Sabin boss. Or Sabin check boss. That's the boss of Daryl's Tomb, which is a Setzer check. Life Kuda asks, is this pixel remastered? No, this is the Final Fantasy VI Randomizer, and it's based on the Final Fantasy III US version of the game. So it's the SNES version of this game that the Randomizer is based off of. Not the pixel remaster, not the Game Boy Advance version, but the 1994 edition of the game, way back in the day. Ooh, that is the Esper Fenrir there for Nobody War. A really nice Esper to have for our final fight. So as I mentioned, in order to beat the game, we have to unlock and defeat Final Kefka. And one of the parts of Final Kefka will cast an unblockable instant death spell. But if you have an Esper like Fenrir that casts the image status on your party, that means that the part of the boss that casts the instant death physical will not be able to actually hit you, which is really nice. Unfortunately, Sabin cannot use Fenrir, so he's going to have to find Edgar at the bottom of Barren Falls or another character here. And speaking of another character, that is Terra for Jesus the Frog, finding yet another character at the engine room. I don't know if he's going to be happy or sad to see that character, because he does have 4 now with Edgar, but I would be trying to get rid of one of Umaro and or Gogo as fast as I could here. Hefe buying his 5th Esper there at the Tizen Thief. which is where mostly everybody else has bought their espers from at this point. Jex Rock washing up on shore for having the other Figabro come and rescue him. Normally in the vanilla game, it's Gao coming to the aid of Sabin and Cyan and Shadow. But in Worlds Collide, we have Edgar, and oh boy. Hefe just getting bullied by this aloe vera. Now, normally what runners do is they chuck a Revivify at this thing and let it go away. However, since we have empty shops in this seed, we haven't been able to find or buy Revivifies. And I think Hefe wants to conserve his Phoenix Downs. Because we started with like 9 or 10 of them, maybe? So, unfortunately, now we just have a Yeti versus Skeleton thing. And thankfully, Umaro is dodging, duck dip diving, and dodging all of those doom spells. Alright, so here on the bed of pasta, we do have Welk. So Vix and Wedge, remember them. Do not hit the shell. Umaro clearly didn't get the mission brief. He's hitting the shell. Meanwhile, Jexfrock is really going to take advantage of those 5 flame shields that dropped from Piranhas there. Nobody War heading through Imperial Camp. Jexfrock is going to head up and grab his 2 espers there from the World of Ruin Norse Loop, and that is Nobody War's 6th esper. I'm sorry, 7th esper there. Jesus the Frog, meanwhile, taking out the snail and getting the Terra. With the jump command, and out goes the Yeti. So we'll see if Jesus the Frog continues this all the way to the Ancient Castle. Given that he already has 2 of the 4 dragons, I would have to imagine that one of the reasons why he considered doing this Edgar tour of the World of Ruin is to go fight that dragon down in the Ancient Castle. So we'll see if they decide to keep going. Alright, it does look like Nobody War has 8 espers. He just showed us our tracker there. Or his tracker. So he now either has to go get dragons or go get characters. Because he's already at the 8 espers there. Jesus the Frog grabbing their free check up on the throne. And it looks like they are going to continue onwards to the Ancient Castle, just as I suspected here. Hefe, meanwhile, is through the Collapsing House, although he would not have liked to have 3/4 of his party die in the Collapsing House. Just for some measly old shield as the reward. If you are interested in this game, ff6worldscollide.com is our website, where there is also a link to our Discord server, and you can get started with some fun things. All right, so that is Vargas down for Nobody War. He'll grab Edgar at the bottom here. And Hefe and Jexrock are both going the World of Ruin Norse Loop. I believe Hefe already took care of Haydn earlier, if I'm not mistaken. Or is that Jesus the Frog? I'm not quite sure.
I believe that was Jesus the Frog, and then he decided not to go to Umaro's check. I don't think Hefe's gone up there yet.
All right. Thank you so much, Cheech. The tracker keeping me on my toes as per usual. And there's Phantom for Jesus the Frog, so that's Esper number 7 for them. And just as we thought, here comes the Ice Durgan for him. Nobody War getting character number 4. And Jex is going to grab his Esper here. That's number 7. So we'll see if Nobody War decides to go do Edgar's stuff, because we know our 5th character is at Edgar's check. I think we've seen every single other check except we saw somebody do Phantom Train, and that was an Esper. So the path through the seed is unfortunately pretty linear thus far. However, that is an offering for Jesus the Frog as the reward in Ancient Castle. That's huge, because now we can use that offering with that fixed dice there. I mean, it'll take a while. That's the problem with the fixed dice, is that it's got very slow animations. But if you roll the dice 4 times, you're better to come up with being lucky than just once. That's sort of the trade-off there. Nobody War heading to the Figaro throne. Probably looking for a big sword from that no free progression check there. Unfortunately, getting only a Genji armor. Alright, so let's talk about Terra, because Jesus the Frog gets Terra. Terra opens up 5 different checks as well. She opens up the Cave to the Sealed Gate, which is considered a free check. However, there's tons of treasure there. Normally, in a normal seed, that would be nice, but in a seed where there's vanilla chests, those chests are just okay. They're not great. There's a couple of decent things in the Sealed Gate, but nothing out of this world. Not like the Experience Egg in Daryl's Tomb, or some of the goodies we found in Kefka's Tower, or all of the elemental shields we would get in Mount Zozo if we had Cyan. But it looks like Jesus the Frog is going to head there anyway. So this is check number 1 for Terra. We also have the Welk spot. We did see the Welk boss. So Welk is another check that Terra opens up. Zozo Tower, where you grab her from Ramu in the vanilla game, is another spot. The Elite River is her 4th check. That's kind of a long one. So I don't think we'll see many runners go to do that at this point in the game. Maybe if it was a bit earlier, we might see Elite River, because there are those forced encounters that will help get your party's levels up. And then our last check is the World of Ruin Mobilis check, where you fight Funbaba 3, who will blow 2 of your characters away, and then you'll have to fight the next boss with 2 characters, or if there is a character reward at Mobilis, then you'll get a 3rd character to fight that fight with. Jexfarok taking on his 2nd dragon here. I forgot to mark the first one that he did up in World of Ruin Narsh. Yeah, so this chest right here that Jesus the Frog is doing is kind of the only one worth looting, in my opinion, for the Genji glove. There's some other decent things in here, but the Genji glove is where it's at. We just unfortunately need to find another weapon for that Genji glove. Nobody War hitting up the Coliseum here, usually with Umaro, who's got a pretty good Coliseum build. Umaro basically just does smash, so you don't have a risk of casting like weird spells or things that you don't want to have him do. That's why Umaro is usually a very good Coliseum build. This is going to be a high tier item here for Jesus the Frog. I bet he's looking for a big sword or a Valiant Knife, maybe. Let's see what he ends up getting. Something to use that Genji glove with. Ugh. Just the Force Armor. I mean, Force Armor is not terrible, but it's not really what we're looking for here. Welcome, Kerplop. Yes, Final Fantasy VI does have a randomizer, and we randomize basically a ton of stuff about the game. However, the spirit of the randomizer keeps a lot of vanilla stuff. There's a lot of vanilla game knowledge that transfers over into the randomizer. In this particular seed, you will notice that all of the chests are the same as they are in vanilla. And that's one of the options you can have. Randomize the chests or not. Randomize the bosses or not. Randomize the commands that your characters have or not. There's lots of different things and lots of cool ways you could play a Worlds Collide seed. All right, so we do see Terra on both Jex for Rocks and Nobody War's screen. So it looks like they're going to go ahead and continue down this path to get their 5th character. Jesus the Frog, meanwhile, has Terra already and has those check options that I mentioned earlier. We'll see if they decide to go to one of those spots. Hefe is going to head down into Umaro's cave. So this is going to be Esper number 7 for them as soon as he's done. Jesus the Frog, they're forgetting how to get to this healing pool. Note to self, don't ever just drink water from a random spot on the ground. I know in Final Fantasy VI, you always get your health back. That's not necessarily the case in real life. All right, that is Golem there for Jesus the Frog. So that is Calmness Protection, as I mentioned, with Magic Power +1 as the bonus on that. And I think that was a Tier 3 Elemental spell, or was that Life 3? It was a bit too fast for me to tell. But that is Esper number 8 for Jesus the Frog. He'll just have to go kill one more dragon, and there's 2 inside of Kefka's Tower. So he can very easily go ahead and do that. And taking a look at the levels of his characters, they're about in the mid-30s, and that's kind of where we want to be for Final Kefka. Meanwhile, Jexvarok getting Terra. Nobody War also going to recruit Terra here from this Welk fight. And it looks like Jesus the Frog found an Atma weapon somewhere along the way. Oh, that's right. There is an Atma weapon in Sealed Gate Cave. I forgot about that too. Okay, so that's the second thing I'd buy. I'd go loot in Sealed Gate Cave. That Genji glove and that Atma weapon. Unfortunately, only one of those items is really worth dual wielding there. All right, so Hefe here fighting number 128 at the Umaro spot will get their 8th Esper. So they'll be pretty much ready for Final Kefka, looking at their HP totals and their levels as well. They'll just need to fight one more dragon. Remember, they did already fight one dragon inside of Kefka's Tower. I don't think they'll go all the way down to the Ancient Castle like Jesus the Frog did. But it looks like both Jexvarok and Nobody War are going to go down there. Jax actually has 2 dragons. How many does Nobody War have? He only has 1. Okay.
It's actually Hefe's. It was his 7th Esper. I marked it before that he started the fight when he picked it up out of the hut.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Cheech. So we need one more Esper, one more shiny stone, and one more dragon for Hefe there. If you're enjoying what you're watching and want to get started playing yourself, ff6worldscollide.com is the website where we have a link to our Discord with various different people to help you get started. There's also a lot of resources on the website, a lot of wikis, a lot of guides, a lot of walkthroughs. There's actually something called Moogle's First Seed, where you get to play a seed alongside of someone else who's playing it with you. You get to download the seed and everything. And oh my God, it's a quad freeze from Jexvarok. I know that's been a hot topic of conversation lately. I normally never see a full party freeze, but Jexvarok here is proving me wrong. Usually it's inside of Kefka's Tower when you only have 1 or 2 people in your party. You get a full party freeze. You usually don't get a 4-party freeze. The thing with the N-Cross spell, which is what inflicts the freeze status, is it's very inaccurate. It has a very bad hit rate. Its hit rate is 90 out of 170, I think, is the max. So it's very inaccurate. not only does it have a bad hit rate, but after it decides whether or not it connects, it will then roll. It will basically do, a 5-way choice, and it will say either 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4 of your party members get hit by the end cross freeze status. So not only is it inaccurate, but you also have a chance with that coin flip, where it's not even a coin flip. It's basically a 20% chance for each of those 5 outcomes. So it's very rare that you get a 4-party freeze like that. It's a 20% chance on top of a 50% chance. So if I do some math, it's basically 1 out of 10 times. Maybe even, no, I'm not doing that right. I think it's 1 out of 10% of the time. Yeah, that's better. Even then, that sounds a little bit low. All right, so Hefe using some runaway buffer strats here, and the reason why is because Umaro will act as soon as it's his turn to act. And when Welk is in the shell, you don't want to hit it. But if you're running away, Umaro will skip his acting turn, and he won't act until you unbuffer the runaway technique. So that's a good way, if you have Umaro in your party, to make him not attack something. It's really only useful in a handful of circumstances, like when Welk goes into his shell, or when you have the lady part of Chatternook, stuff like that. But good heads-up play there by Hefe, good tech to show it off for us. Meanwhile, Jesus the Frog hopping into Kefka's Tower, I think, for the last time. Remember, our runners hopped into Kefka's Tower early, all of them, to grab the vanilla chests that were selected in this seed. But I think this time it's for real, because he's got at least his Esper requirements and just needs 1 more dragon to unlock Final Kefka. Meanwhile, Nobody War and Jexfarok also have their Esper requirements here. They just need to get several more dragons respectively, and that's why Nobody War is parked right outside of the Opera House here, heading to take on the Opera House dragon. Meanwhile, Jexfarok going to raid the cupboard here a little bit at the Imperial camp. Remember, this is considered a free check because you don't have to fight any fights in that check. So, unless he's going there for the Atma weapon, he won't get any progression here on this check. We did see this earlier from Hefe, that this was Ultros number 3. Skulldurgan for Nobody War here at the Opera House. And then all he has to do is fight 1 more dragon inside of Kefka's Tower, and he will be in go mode as well. Yeah, these chests are not very good. X Potion's okay, but there are so many elixirs in vanilla chests that I usually don't go out of my way to get those X Potions. Ultros going down there. So Kefka's Tower is the most difficult part of the Worlds Collide seed, I think, from a fighting a boss standpoint, because you have to split your party up into 3 different parties. And in the vanilla game, this usually isn't that big of a deal because you have a ton of different characters and you have more than enough to make 3 decent parties. Whereas in the randomizer, you kind of tend to focus only on your main 4 characters, and your other characters are kind of just off to the side. So in Kefka's Tower, you usually have to fight with way less than full parties, and in some cases, you have to only fight with just 1 party member. Alright, so Nobody War takes out their dragon. Hefe is going to take out his dragon here at the Ancient Castle after getting his 8th Esper. So he'll be in go mode in just a second here after this dragon kill. Jexfarok picking up the Atma weapon there at the cave to the sealed gate. And we know at least Edgar can use it because our equipment is vanilla plus 75% of random. Not 75, 61% of random, rather. And that's Jesus the Frog's 4th dragon, so he has unlocked Final Kefka and can go ahead and kill that boss whenever they want. Nobody War here is going to head through the Sealed Gate Cave, so is also going to pick up their Atma weapon, potentially, and the Genji Glove. Hefe did kill his 4th dragon there, so that is go mode for Hefe. So we're going to start to see our runners converge on Kefka's tower rather quickly here. Jexvarok in the tower since they got up out of the ancient castle loop first. Alright, so Hefe does find Katana Soul, which would normally be great. However, with the drops shuffled, this is not so great. Katana Soul is weak to poison, though. So we'll see if we get the poison damage here. Alright, Jesus the Frog deciding on one more dragon here, perhaps? Really drive the point home. Get the last little bit of levels here for his Edgar character. Nobody War finishing up at the Sealed Gate Cave. And Jexvarok is speeding on towards his first boss inside of Kefka's tower. Yeah, so since Jesus the Frog has Edgar using the Atma weapon, it makes sense for him to gain as many levels as possible. The Atma weapon's damage is based on your total amount of HP that you currently have, and it will do less and less damage the more HP you lose. However, it's heavily dependent upon your level. The level factors into the damage formula multiple times. I did not see what the reward for that 5th dragon was. I just barely missed it.
It was the almighty Magus Rod.
Oh, God. Some terrible rewards from dragons tonight. Magus Rod does give you +7 magic power. However, with the Espers only being equipable by 7 characters, meaning each Esper has a group of 7 characters that can equip them, and no more, no less. Along with having spells at a flat 43 to 98 MP cost for whatever they are. Huge nerf to magic in this seed. Then that doesn't even mention the relics equipability being 4 to 7 at random. So it could be the case that, you know, normally a magic caster that would be good, like Terra, that normally has high magic power, if she can't use the hero rings or the earrings or anything like that, then she won't be getting that magic boost there. Alright, one of the fun things about SR Behemoth is that his undead form can show up both on the Veldt and in the Colosseum, because he's one of the formations that show up in the list. So he gets shuffled in the Colosseum as well. It looks like Hefe is trying to get an economizer from a gem box, which is a really good trade in my opinion. The X magic ability is not very good in this game. It's very slow for since we're doing a speed run after all, and the animation time just makes it even slower. Whereas an economizer will reduce all of your MP costs to 1. So that random MP values is not going to be as big of a deal for him. However, when you go to the Coliseum late, you learn a lot of like spells that are kind of bad. And thankfully, Sabin just ended up berserking himself after a while. But you can end up with a lot of really questionable decisions that the Coliseum AI makes. All right, so that's Nobody War's 4th Dragon. That is unlocked Final Kefka complete for them. So they're going to warp out and reform their party to go take on the other lanes. Meanwhile, Jesus and the Frog taking on the Guardian spot. So that's the first of the 4 bosses here in the Gauntlet. Ends up defeating Marshall. And Marshall in the vanilla game comes with Lobos, but we thought that was too easy in Worlds Collide. So we randomized his ads, and that's what you saw there. Unfortunately, this is another time waste of a boss here. It is Narapa. Has Reflect on automatically, so casting spells on Narapa will not do anything. Fortunately, it does not have a lot of HP. So we just have to do enough damage. And what I would do is I would just go ahead and just have Gogo mimic that throw over and over and over again. But it looks like Jesus the Frog is going to try with the Doom Darts. So the fun thing about the Doom Darts is they have a chance to proc instant death. And Narapa is susceptible to instant death, but is also susceptible to being hit in the face with things. And that is another Atma weapon drop from Narapa there. That is going to be huge for our runners to get that type of reward at the top of Kefka's Tower. So who else can use that Atma weapon? Looks like Edgar and Sabin and Terra could all use the fixed dice. Unfortunately, nobody can use the offering. Wah, 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 wah. So that's really disappointing. That is that relic equip ability being random 4 to 7 that we mentioned there. Really putting a stress on this seed here. All right, so this is Ifrit. And this is going to be an interesting one. Ifrit is weak to ice and absorbs everything else. Or rather, nullifies everything else and absorbs fire. Thankfully, Throw will ignore physical defense, but Ifrit does have huge physical defense. So we'll see what happens here. And what happened was, Sabin ended up yeeting enough things at Ifrit to make it go away. Really nice there from Jesus the Frog. Meanwhile, Hefe, I think, is just taking off the Moogle Charm and leveling himself up in order to go into Kefka's Tower. Because remember, he took out some of the things inside of KT already. So he's not going to get as many levels inside of Kefka's Tower as the rest of our runners are. So he's got to go ahead and do this, and this is not a fun fight here. But if Sabin keeps rolling like that, I'm going to have him, buy some lottery tickets for me. All right, so Jesus the Frog, I believe, has one more boss to go. And it's on this side where Edgar is all by himself. The Lonely King. So we'll see what he decides to do here. Doesn't want to put the Moogle Charm on, because you take up one relic slot when you do have that Moogle Charm. Although, the True Knight is not going to help in a solo fight, so the True Knight, what it does is it will block physical attacks for characters in your party. So, no point in putting that on. However, the running shoes will definitely help. Oh, baby. It is Doom Gaze. Did we pass our math test? We did. And thankfully we have an Atma weapon, because Doom Gaze has very high both magical and physical defense. And unfortunately for Jesus the Frog, runs into a buzzsaw here with Doom Gaze at the end of the seed. So Doomgaze can cast Doom basically whenever he feels like it. Which is definitely going to be a roadblock here. So if we have a relic, perhaps, that will prevent instant death attacks, then we should probably use it now. Otherwise, we're going to just have to hope that Doomgaze doesn't cast Doom. Which is not a very... Hope is not a good strategy. Wasn't there like an investment commercial or something like that? Where they say that for your 401k and retirement, hope is not a very good sound strategy. All right, so we had a couple of dinosaurs with the marshals. I didn't even see this because Jesus the Frog took them out so fast. But tyrannosaurs are quite dangerous with marshals there. But thankfully, we got the fixed dice and we got the Atma weapon from Jex Rock, so we got a pair of things that are good. Looks like Jesus the Frog did put on a wall ring? Is that what that is? With the blue, is that reflect? So that means the Doom spells will bounce off, and they won't actually hit Doomgaze, but the good thing is that they won't kill him. So that's a really good heads-up play from Jesus the Frog to recognize a relic that, number one, Edgar can actually equip, because remember, the relic equipability is suspect. And number two, something to actually mitigate this instant death spell. So really nice play there from Jesus the Frog. Yeah, because you're basically seeing here with all these casts of Doom, it's not necessarily a 50-50 coin flip, right? But it's sort of up to the RNG of the game to determine whether you live or die. And that's not something you ever want to just play by. Out comes Arrow here, and that's going to hurt. Because the Atma weapon, as you see, will be doing less and less damage now that Jesus the Frog has less and less HP. I think he's got either a Snow Muffler or an Ice Shield on, so that Absolute Zero will actually help him there by healing him. The Snow Muffler will absorb ice spells. And it might take a little bit. Okay, never mind. It took maybe like 5 or 6 turns, so that was definitely a bit of a longer fight than normal. But Doomgaze has a chunk of HP in spite of being a skeleton, because in Worlds Collide, we basically combine all of the different phases of Doomgaze into one boss, because the runaway part of Doomgaze doesn't really play nice when you're having to fight a boss. It doesn't really make sense for them to run away. It did in the vanilla game, obviously, but it doesn't here. Alright, so that is all 4 bosses dealt with for Jesus the Frog. They just have to heal themselves up, figure out who's going to wear what espers. That's going to be important. Phantom is a nice one to have for the first tier of Final Kefka. We got to see if anybody can use the Golem Esper, because that would be very good for tier 2 of Final, tier 3 rather of Final Kefka. All right, it looks like we're going to get Atma Weapon with Terra, with the Genji Glove maybe? I'm not a huge fan of double Atma Weapon, but when you have a Minerva that you could wear to absorb different types of elemental spells, I'm much better off with this choice here of having the double Atma Weapon. Meanwhile, our other runners are making their way through the tower now here as well. Hefe, fresh off of gaining a bunch of different levels, is fighting his Guardian spot at Marshall and Dinosaur, and unfortunately he gets stopped here. So Hefe either has to wait a bit for this stop to wear off or reset. And I think resetting would mean walking his way all the way back up to this Guardian spot. Jesus the Frog for getting their Moogle Charm there. Yeah, so with how Worlds Collide works, Doomgaze can cast Ultima because of the way that elemental scaling works. Basically, as the bosses get harder and harder, they cast better and better spells. Now, they're constrained to the elements that they normally would cast, so in Doomgaze's case, it would be wind and water. but I believe he's got fractional damage spells, things like Doom and W-Wind, that may transform into non-elemental things like Ultima. Or, if you want to, there's a setting where you can say, well, the boss can randomly cast any spell instead of just their vanilla battle scripts. So it's good to have some vanilla game knowledge with this game, but also it's good to know some randomizer knowledge. And Jesus the Frog, heading up against Final Kefka, Jex Frog getting the bad news that this one lane is Doomgaze, and thankfully he didn't throw the heal rod at himself like Jesus the Frog did. And here we go, Final Kefka. So Final Kefka is a set of 4 tiers of fights. This is the first tier. This is all physical attacks with, 1 or 2 exceptions. We want to kill the head first, because if that is left alive at the end, he will death counter with Quake, which is a fast way to hit the reset button. The long arm is susceptible to instant death if we've got it, and then that balled up fist there will counterattack basically whenever it wants to, and is weak to water if we had, some sort of water, either spell or thing we could throw at it. Merton works really well on this tier because head is weak to fire and long arm is weak to wind, and that basically is what the Merton spell is. It's a fire and wind based attack. Jex Farrak opting for the throw against Doomgaze, so throw will deal twice as much damage and it will ignore physical defense. So you're seeing some very big numbers come out here against Doomgaze when normally they wouldn't because of how high the physical defense is for Doomgaze. Thankfully, Jesus the Frog has what we call Merton protection, so he's got enough flame shields to go around for the 3 characters, and then for Terra, who's using a set of Atma weapons, has the Minerva on. That is Hefe through his Ifrit fight with his throw user. Nobody War is also through the Ifrit fight there with his throw user as well. I think the bottleneck for this seed is going to be the Doomgaze spot here, as Jex Farrak is through it with, it looks like he found a Valiant Knife somewhere. So that must have been a drop from one of the enemies that I must have missed, because the drops and the steals are randomized. So in a seed with empty shops, a throw user is not nearly as good as a seed that doesn't have empty shops, because you can't just go to a shop and buy all of the things to throw at the enemies. All right, so here's the second tier of Kefka, as we have Jex Farrak heading up to tier number 1 in just a bit. So this is a 4-parter here. The Tiger face there is weak to ice and will cast all sorts of nasty spells, including the freeze status and the zombie status, and some very big AoE spells. That guy all the way on the left there, pointing to the left side of the screen, that's magic, only casts magic spells, but is susceptible to mute, hilariously. I don't know if we have mute. It doesn't look like we do, based on Gogo's spell list there. The Tools in the middle is susceptible to instant death, so that's why we saw the Odin summon come out and kill Tools. So Tools is dead, thank you very much. See you later. And then that blue guy is hit, and he will death counter with 10 physical hits. Looks like Nobody War is going to choose to dice roll his way through this Doomgaze fight. We'll see if Gogo survives it long enough. And it looks like he might rethink the strategy here a bit. Jex Farrak pulling out the instant death on tier 1, because long arm can actually be instant deathed as well. And it looks like Jesus the Frog's strategy here, in lieu of the double Atma weapon swing on Terra, is to use Merton and Osmose as much as possible. Not a bad strategy here either. Hefe getting his fun little, hey, Doomgaze is at this spot. Unfortunately, Nobody War is deciding to warp out there and is going to reform his party. So this is going to be a definite time loss for him. But if he knew that he couldn't beat Doomgaze in that spot, which is actually going to be the middle party here, then this is a good idea. I think he wants to have 2 characters in the middle party and not on that side. I think he's realizing that now as well. Drinkschool asking, this is so much fun. Where can I play this game myself? Well, FF6 Worlds Collide is the .com is the website. There's also a link to a wiki with a ton of different tools to get you started, including something called Moogle's First Seed, where you can download the exact seed and play along with one of our community members. It's basically like a video walkthrough in real time. It's really good, so I recommend that for new players starting out, just to get acclimated with the game and familiar with the happenings of it. There's also a link to the Discord where we will answer whatever questions you may have. So you could do that if you're Discord savvy as well. All right, so Hefe is through his Doomgaze fight. Thankfully, got through it because Gogo was getting pretty low on health there. Jesus the Frog finishing up his second tier and is on to tier number 3. So this is where the fun starts to happen. There's only 2 parts for tier 3. There is Girl with 9,999 damage and absorbs all elements. So we're going to have to use physical attacks and non-elemental damage against her, because she will not only revive both parts of this boss, but will completely re-raise or bring back the second part. And then there's the other guy, Sleep, who's got 40,000 HP and will counter his death with up to 2 instances of an attack called Calmness. It's an instant death physical special attack, so we need something that blocks physical attacks. Something like, Golem or Fenrir that we were talking about earlier. So we'll see how Jesus the Frog plays this one. There's a bit of a push and pull tug of war with this tier, because when the one part gets under 10,000 HP, it will start to counterattack with very powerful spells. So you don't necessarily want to do too much damage too quickly without getting set up and without having your party cast that Golem or that Fenrir or whatever you're going to use to protect yourself from that Calmness attack. Meanwhile, Hefe here is on tier 1, and it's important to know that you want to get that Gogo's HP up, because if one of your characters is dead on the transition between tiers, they get left behind and somebody off the bench comes. And in the vanilla game, that's not normally a huge problem because you've been playing with a bunch of different characters throughout the game. But in Worlds Collide, you've really only been playing with these 4. So a 5th character coming off the bench is potentially catastrophic, especially early on in this fight. Kurt Plop says, I love how Cuphead parodied this boss fight. I'm not familiar with Cuphead, so that would be interesting for me to check out. I didn't realize that was a thing. That's pretty neat. Yeah, Gogo is unfortunately in the front row here for Hefe, and that means that they will be taking twice as much damage from those beefy physical attacks. Terra gets smacked up a little bit as well. Having to exercise that health command. Jesus the Frog here deciding to crack a flame shield with Gogo. I think we're getting close to that 10,000 damage mark that we had talked about here earlier. Deciding to crack the flame shield instead of using Mimic. So Gogo can mimic shield breaks and things like that. And there comes the Calmness, and the double Golem protection will pull through for Jesus the Frog. So he may have lost up to 2 characters there without that Golem Esper summon. And here comes the final boss. The big bad himself, Kefka. So Kefka has 62,000 and change HP, and on his first turn, he will reduce the party to 1 HP, unless you do enough damage to him. After he suffers about half of his damage, 30,000 damage, he will start doing things like Hyperdrive and Havoc Wing to counter your party, which will normally just decimate a single character. And then he'll also do a 1-turn charge for his ultimate ability, Goner. It looks really cool, and anime and all that stuff. It does a lot of damage, but it's not nearly as powerful as the Ultima cast, which he may counter with if he's under 10,000 HP. So we have to be careful to do damage, but not too much damage to Kefka where we'll eat an Ultima. So that's what Jesus the Frog is basically going to balance here, is deal enough damage to Kefka, but don't put him in the range where he's going to throw an Ultima at you. I think his Terra would be able to survive an Ultima, but the rest of his team might not. All right, so Hefe up to tier number 2 here, as Jexfarok, I think, is just getting done with magic over here, so he's only got hit left. And it looks like we're very closely coming up on the end. We're going to get time when the first flash happens. Unfortunately, Goner is going to come off, so that's going to eat into Jesus the Frog's time just a little bit here. And like I mentioned, he did survive it, but we got to be careful of this fire too. It might go over the edge, and thankfully, we did not get an ultimate counter. That could have been a wipe right there for Jesus the Frog. That would have been a disaster, but thankfully, Kefka decided not to counter, and that's going to be it. GG's for Jesus the Frog, everybody. His official time there is 1:14:25. So we'll see if we can get them in to have a little chat about their run. Meanwhile, on Hefe's side, we've got 2 party members frozen. So the only way you can unfreeze your party is with fire. Thankfully, Tools said, hey, let me help you out, dude. And using an AoE fire attack against the party. Nobody War, meanwhile, did get through his Doomgaze fight at the Goddess statue spot. So he's going to be fighting Final Kefka here. And we are joined in the booth by Jesus the Frog as Jexfarok is cleaning up tier number 3. Congratulations on your win, sir. GG's.
Thank you. GG.
So this was quite a wild seed with vanilla chests, empty shops, some bad equipability options in terms of relics and espers, and then scaling based on time. So take us a little bit through your strategy of how you wanted to approach this seed.
Yeah, well, vanilla chests is unusual. I'm not very good at it. I don't have very good vanilla chest knowledge. And I actually forgot it was vanilla chests. I started out, went straight to returners, got like 2 tinctures and a face down. I was like, what is this? Oh, vanilla chests, right? Let's leave.
Yep.
I remember there's some good stuff in Kefka's Tower. Basically everything in like the Ancient Castle engine room is good. The one thing I do know where it is that hero ring in the Colosseum hut in World of Balance. I remember that.
Yeah, there's also elixirs basically in most of the clocks around
every
the game
every
too.
Clock.
Yeah. Yeah, so we saw, as soon as you got your 3rd character, you got to dive Kefka's Tower and pick up some good stuff. So you did ended up going for the 8 espers and the 4 dragons route. Were you just looking at the lower numbers and making that conclusion, or did you kind of see where the seed led you and pick that as things were leading you along?
I 100% decided to do 8 espers, 4 dragons as soon as I saw the objectives. Because 8 espers are 9 characters, there's no chance. Like, I'm taking 8 espers every time. It's easy to get 4 dragons, guaranteed. All I had to do is get, hopefully, 1 extra character, because I don't want to do a 3-party Final Kefka, a 3-man Final Kefka. That's really all I wanted. I didn't even need character 5 or 6, honestly. Though I am glad I did get Terra, so I could have that party, because Terra, that +2 magic esper, was actually amazing. I started to give her double Genji, or double Admo with the Genji glove. She was the only one who could wear the Genji glove. I got into tier 1, and I was like, well, tier 1's pretty dangerous, so I was cast Murton. I went, oh wait, she has like 90 magic power. why am I swinging Atmos for 3,000 when I can cast Murton for 9,000?
Let's burn the world down.
Yeah,
that made way more sense. So one of the big stumbling blocks that some of our other runners got into was the Doomgaze spot, and you also hit that as well. But you decided, hey, I'm going to see what relics my character can use, and they could use the Wall Ring, which reflected the Doom spells that would come fast and furious at my character. So really nice heads-up play there. And also, you unfortunately found an offering that nobody could use, so that was a little frustrating with your relics as well.
I was very disappointed that I couldn't put on 7. I was going, oh, great, 7 Genji Love Maneater Assassin offering, done. And that was before we even got the Abba weapons. But I was like, all right, Edgar, Abba weapon, Abba offering, fantastic. But of course, he can't with Genji Glove, and no one got the offering. The time for that wall ring, I wiped once. I was going to give it just one more shot and hoped I dodged all the dooms. But I was looking in the relics. I saw the wall ring. I was like, wait a minute. Perfect. As long as he cast lots of doom, it was fine. He cast doom like 6 times in a row. It was great.
Yeah, it was wild. I think had you not done that wall ring, you would have had a very crazy string of RNG to miss 5 of those in a row.
Yeah, if I wiped again, I was going to reset out and reform and go back in.
Yeah, that's unfortunately what Nobody War had to do, because I believe that he ran into that spot with Gogo and just didn't have enough stuff to throw at Doom Gaze before getting hit with that Doom as well. Speaking of throwing things, welcome to the club of hitting yourself with the heel rod. Yeah. We will be clipping that and sharing that amongst everybody in the Discord, so thank you so much for that as well.
I've done that once or twice before. That's the first time I had queued up the attack and didn't notice that it targeted himself, and then queue the Mimic too. So that was really good.
Oh, that's always the best. Jex Farok there does finish out. Get your GGs for him. 1:19:30 is his official time there. So I think I had most of the questions I wanted to ask. We do have Cheech doing tracking, so I'll let him jump in here. Cheech, you have any questions for Jesus the Frog while we got him in the booth?
No, I don't have any questions. I mean, when I first looked at the set, I thought, maybe in for some long times with how crazy everything did, but 114 is a great time for any run. So congratulations.
Thank you. No, I really like this flag set with random loot and empty shops. It really forces you to think, because far too often, I think in races, it comes down to who found the good item in shops. That's not the only thing, of course. There's lots that goes on. But sometimes we're doing a thing, I'm like, I'm doing well, I'm handling things, I get like a 120, and someone's like, hey, did you see those VKs in like Thamasa? I'm like, well, darn it. They get a 110, I'm like, well, I can't do much with that. I didn't check that shop. Plus, I have a tendency to spend too much time checking shops just in case something good. If it's empty, I can just skip all shops. I save like 3 minutes just right there.
Yeah, it's a little rough when you have vanilla chests, because that you might not get those consumables that you're used to, right? But I agree.
No tents, no sleeping bags. I healed at the bucket twice, and once at Baron Falls. And that was it. I never used a potion, I never cast a spell, I never used health until Phala Kefka. Actually, no, I did use an X potion.
I mean, you use Merton. Yeah, you use Merton as healing, which is, always the best way to do it.
Can we talk about 2 things? I want to mention 2 things before I go.
Yeah, sure.
I decided I was at 7 Espers. I should peak Phantom Train, because to Esper I'm done. It was Golem, which was amazing because I needed protection. And it had, or something had Murton on it. I'm not sure if it was Golem or Shote, but something had Murton. So I had Terra with a Magic +2 with Murton and Golem. It all came together right at the end. I was glorious.
Very glorious. So thank you so much, Jesus the Frog, for volunteering to be featured on Restream. Can't have the races without the runners, so appreciate you joining us. And if you got any other final thoughts before we let you go?
Yeah, speaking of Phantom Train, the Piranhas, I was like, man, Piranhas.
Oh, Piranhas.
Such a waste of time. But then it dropped like 4 or 5 flame shields.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, that's Solus Kefka right there. I can just crack shields and mimic them. That's 7 or 8 casts right there. That's tier 2 or tier 3, that's tier 4. Plus, once I learned Murton, I was like, we're golden.
That's it. Yeah, you had some contingencies. We had a Blizzard Orb, we had Minerva's, but yeah, the flame shields definitely helped.
Yeah.
And oh no, Terra and Edgar to go down for Hefe there.
Oh, that's rough.
All right, well, we got the Sabin and Go-Go. Normally a throw and a Go-Go in a seed is great, but empty shops, not so much. So anyway, thank you, Jesus the Frog, and we'll catch you on the next one, my friend.
Yeah, see ya.
All right. And we're joined by our second place runner-up here, Jex Farok, GG, my friend. So tell us, with vanilla chests, empty shops, bad equipability for relics and espers, and scaling based on time with loot and shuffled drops and steals, what was your sort of strategy for this particular Chaos seed here?
Find a character as fast as I could and get into Kefka's tower to loot it.
There's some definite good stuff in there for sure. And oh no! Oh, nobody wore. Oh boy.
Bad things happened.
Yeah, mistakes were made.
So, yeah, that was pretty much the gist of it. Relics was going to be what it's going to be. I mean, like, grab the hero rings, grab the earrings. I thought about going to Mount Colts to grab the Atlas armlet just to have a wide spread of some sort of damage buff that at least somebody should be able to equip somewhere along the line. Aside from that, it was going to be find physical damage and go with that. I was thrilled to have piranhas drop flame shields.
Oh yeah, that was wild. I think you were the first runner to see that, and I'm like, oh my god, look at all those flame shields.
Yeah, I got 5 of them in one shot. I'm just like, all right, well, I have Merton strats if it comes up, which I could have done it, but I'm like, my MP regeneration is kind of slim.
Yeah. There was Osmos on another Esper floating around. That's how Jesus the Frog was able to put those two together. But yeah, anyway.
Yeah, I had a gold hairpin sitting around somewhere. But also I didn't really have much in the lines of consumables to get rid of mute. So I'm just like, I have to worry about trains, so I'm gonna have to figure something else out. I never thought I'd see the day where I'd be using a healing rod for final Kefka.
You gotta do what you gotta do sometimes. At least you didn't throw it at the back of your head and then mimic it and throw it at the back of somebody else's head. That is his clip. No. I will be sharing at some point later.
No, I threw dice at Terra. By accident, when I meant to use the healing rod on her.
So, looking at the objectives here, we had 8 Espers, 9 characters, and 4 dragons. How did you pick the sort of goals that you were going after? Was it obvious from the start when you just were like, oh, these are lower numbers, I'm just going to do this? Or did the seed kind of dictate where you went?
The seed dictated where I was going. Because I knew I wanted to go... I knew I wanted to go down the dragon route.
Hefe with the ultimate counter.
Oh no.
Oh, so Kefka's HP is very low right now. He's got the quick. He's got the quick and the fixed dice. These better be good rolls here. All right, that's a good one. Come on, Sabin. Oh, that's not a good one. Oh boy. Oh, this is getting risky. Yeah, cast quick and throw a couple things here and just.
Come on, buddy.
Yeah, he's got this. He's got this. He's got this. Oh, he went for the dice instead. Oh, he's a gambling man till the end. There we go. That should do it. Anyway, sorry about that. Go ahead.
GG's Hefe. Wow.
Oh, the very last turn.
Whew. So, yeah. I definitely let the seed dictate where I was going. I knew I wanted to do dragons because I was going to get high tier loot drops out of it. Mm-hmm. Like having the fixed dice, getting the Atma weapon was fantastic. Getting a second Atma was also fantastic. having offering that nobody could use was sad.
That was the pain. Hello, darkness, my old friend.
That was totally a heartbreak. Getting that random Valiant knife from the beginning of the seed was also
where did you find that? Because I don't think anybody else found that.
It was a grind fight. I think it was Grease Monkey and Robites? No, Peepers or whatever the heck comes with them.
That was when you were outside of the Coliseum, I think.
Yep, that's where I picked that up.
Yeah.
So Coliseum, see if I could grab a couple of things because the Coliseum had 60 something to 100 something viewable rewards. So I'm just like, this is going to be worth peeking just to get just to round out some of my equipment. Especially
with that incredible Umaro and Go-Go start.
Oh my god!
You're welcome, chat. You're welcome.
That was awful. That happened. Like
Yeah,
empty shops, crap relics. Here's icing on a cake. Here, have Go-Go and Amaru. Have fun.
Well,
Uh,
this just means that I don't get to roll seeds anymore.
the it was still better than the last one that I've rolled. Oh,
Yeah.
I,
Well,
I,
a sub 120 time on this seed is ridiculous, honestly, given everything that could have happened and should have happened there. So, excellent job to you. Any other? So we did have Cheech with his first time tracking, doing a wonderful job here. You got any questions for Jex Varrock before we let him go?
I don't have any questions, but I will say the one benefit of the Go-Go Umaru start with only 2 characters where you're looking to dive the tower is they both only have 1 check to get a new character to let you get into the tower and kind of get that early loot that you could get. So there was a little bit of benefit, even though I don't think I'd ever want to see that when I'm doing a run either. So.
No
well,
way.
Thankfully, I have ran significantly worse seeds than this.
Oh,
so
for sure.
this one was like, all right, I've dealt with this kind of nonsense before. All right, let's revert some of those old strats. When in doubt, grind for levels.
Yep. You got any other questions or thoughts, Cheech, or we turn it over to Jex for his serenade here?
No, I don't. Great job. It was a hell of a run.
Yeah, so thanks, Jex, for volunteering to be on Restream and for helping to put the race together as well. Can't do it without the runners. So, you want to give us your final spiel, your final thoughts?
Yes, I shall serenade everybody with this. Anybody here that is new to Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide, please come join our Discord at ff6worldscollide.com. We have a wonderful community. We have Moogle and Mentor apprenticeship program to help you learn the randomizer, learn the routing, learn the strats. Please give our Restream team and our runners a follow. Let me see. On top of it, yeah, I don't have much else to say. Please come join us. We've got a great community. GG's, and thanks for tuning in.
Yep, thank you so much, Jexy, and we'll catch you on the next one, my friend.
GG's, thank you.
All right, so we have our other 2 runners in the booth here, Hefe and Nobody War. Congratulations, guys, on mostly getting through that. Hefe just barely through,
Yes, sir.
through the end there. So let's give a quick rundown, a recap here. So we had no free progression, vanilla chests, empty shops, bad relic and Esper equipables, scaling based on time, shuffled drops, and loots. So we'll start with you, Fa. Give me your overall strategy for what you wanted to do with this seed.
What I wanted to do or what I did?
Okay, before you got grabbed out of the sky from Flame Eater, what was your strategy there?
Well, okay. This whole time I was playing this seed, I myself was going, what am I doing? like the entire time. I was like, okay, I'm not going to die to Flame Eater, but I should reset and get out of this. But I didn't. And then I went to the tower and spent way too much time in the tower.
I thought you hadn't saved before. I was like, did he save before this? Because that's why I was like, he shouldn't be wasting this much time. But I thought it was because maybe you hadn't saved before that.
No, and I'm pretty sure that I did save. I'm not 100% positive, but I normally do. But
right.
I was just like, well, I'm not going to die. And like, it was kind of an out-of-body experience. Like I said, I was sitting here going, why am I doing this?
Yeti's driving. Just put the controller down.
Pretty much. I mean, and he ended up pretty high level pretty early and, took a dragon and, I almost went for the bosses straight out of the gate in the tower. But I was like, no, that's a little too far. I'm going to reel that back in.
Yeah, you did clear out a couple of bosses there with the Sasquatch Supreme as it were. So yeah, Nobody War. Same question to you. Looking at this set of options, what did you want to do with this seed early on and to get yourself going, and what was your strategy?
I think with the original chest locations, I did a quick Google search and I'm like, oh, I gotta go there. And guess what? We get the guy that has 2 shields in his check, or at least 1 shield. We didn't get Cyan. who has the other two shields. But
Yep.
yeah, I was happy seeing him. Those two actually at first, to be honest with you, the same thing that Cheech said. That keeps it pretty linear. I went to the pre-Coliseum, picked up the hero ring, dove Colts for the Atlas armlet, and Yeti was pretty much good to go right away. Yeah, it took a few early fights and seemed to just be way outscaling with the time 1.5. So it was just smash things. I don't know why I thought like somebody would be good using magic until I realized that like a half an hour in, I'm like, it's time to just hold A and win. Finding that Terra was great because I knew I had an Atma coming. Like Jack said, that offering that nobody could use was not fun.
No. It's
I
sad
also,
taking up space in your inventory.
Yeah, another thing, I gotta really like pay attention to flags because I swore that the statues were shuffled, they were only mixed. So that's why I didn't like pre-dive the tower for anything.
Mm-hmm.
I also like probably could have cleared that tower in one attempt, for Rex and got to Final Kefka if I would have thought about it a little bit harder and set up my parties in the right way, but it is what it is.
Yeah, that Doom Gaze gave you trouble for sure, where you had to, reform
The solo
your party.
with Go-Go, or that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, I mean the annoying part.
If he would have been able to wear a ribbon, I might have tried it again, but nah.
Yeah, we had to resort to like wall ring strats and some other crazy stuff to make it through there. I think had there not been empty shops and you could buy throwables, then the seed would have been very, very different, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Man, you know how bad I want a good throwable seed, and every time I get throw seeds, it's like this.
You get Go-Go and Sabin is basically your first, or your second, and your third character, right? So
yeah. Throw-Go with nothing to throw.
There was nothing really good in the Coliseum when I went there and checked. Was that all original too, or did I miss something else?
No, that wasn't all original, I don't think.
It was just mostly garbage. I went twice.
True. Yeah.
I think there was an economizer. There was
I picked that up early. Right.
Right.
Nice.
I think Hefe, you did the cat hood, or maybe it was Jesus the Frog. It was somebody on your side of the stream. There was some. There might have been something else in there. I don't remember where all of you got the offering, so you must have gotten it from a drop or something like that.
I think it was Blue Dragon down in Edgar's check.
Oh, that's right. Right. Nobody wore. I think you got your characters a bit later than everybody else, so that kind of set you a little bit behind, just in terms of you're taking 3 characters to kill everything, right? It's just going to take longer, and for Hefe, that was basically just that Flame Eater in the Sky fight chewed up a lot of time, but it did allow you to, clean up some of the stuff in Kefka's Tower also. Talk to us a little bit about your final fight there. Things are getting a little dicey, pun intended, at the end there.
Yeah, Sabin was in full, let's be family friendly, play around and find out mode with his dice rolls. So that was fun. And like I said, like I said it in the chat, the race chat, like nothing I did this siege should have worked. Like nothing should. The final battle shouldn't have gone. I should have died. Like none of it should have worked, and it all did. And I'm more perplexed by the fact that it actually worked than because I thought it shouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's better to be lucky than to be good, I guess, huh?
Right. I'm going to have to kind of go back and watch this and be like, why did that work? Because it literally shouldn't have. Like, how did I beat Kefka? Because I definitely shouldn't have with Yeti and Go-Go and Sabin throwing garbage dice,
Yeah. Well, you took your time and you have the basics down, the fundamentals, right? Let's wait trick here. Let's see what happens. Let's not throw our dice now until we see the counterattack come out. When you saw the Ultima come out, you're like, all right, I know that he doesn't have a lot of HP. Let's use quick and let's just make these last 2 dice throws count. Oh, wait, they did 2,000 damage combined. I'm dead now. Wait, I'm not dead. Right. Kefka didn't counterattack me. Right? It's knowing these things and the fundamentals that pulled you through that sort of.
I thought for sure I was a goner. I mean, the Ultima came out, and I was like, okay, there's my forfeit. Oh, wait, I lived. Oh, wait, I'll get another shot at this. Oh, wait, I didn't kill him.
Yep. Meanwhile, the opposite happened with Nobody War, where
that
where
Meteo
tier three
train that killed
three
the
was just
fader.
like
Meteo was not fun.
yeah. Tier 3 was like, you know what? It's not your day today.
Nah.
and that unfortunately will happen sometimes. So we did have Cheech doing tracking for the first time ever. Did a great job. So Cheech, you have any questions for Hefe or Nobody War before we wrap up here?
I don't have any questions. Just want to congratulate you guys on a great run. I mean, even it was so close. You look at the times. We're looking at about 12 minutes between everybody that finished, and even Nobody War was going to be right there if not for some of that sorry luck on the tower or on the final Kefka, which is just the way the bad breaks sometimes. But great job, everybody.
Yes, sir. Thank you for tracking. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Because, without you guys, we can run races all day long, but they don't get the visibility. So,
yeah, this was a lot of fun. I like doing some different than standard flags, right? That just shows off how customizable Worlds Collide can be, and that's my favorite part of it. There's a lot of people that will run the same settings over and over again, and that's still enjoyable for people because it's a literal new experience every seed. But I think you'll find the power of the game is in doing stuff like this, where you get to play on completely different strategies than you normally would never ever see because you have these wacky settings. So thank you guys Thank you guys for suggesting this and for putting on the showcase. So
absolutely, anytime.
Thanks for volunteering to be on Restream. Hefe, you have any other final thoughts, words, etc.?
No, sir. You can take us out of here. I got to get to bed. So.
All right. Have a good night, and Nobody War
Get to bed.
Nobody War is it's good morning for you, sir.
Yeah, sir. It's 4:00 right now, a.m. So it's time for me to go get my un cafe and a cornado and have a good day.
We'll see. I'll be up at 4 a.m. out walking the road, so I'll be right there with you in however many hours that is from now.
Awesome, guys. Well, thank you again for volunteering to be on stream, and we'll do this again sometime soon. So thanks a lot, guys.
All right. Have a good night.
All right.
Ciao.
Cheech, you got any other final thoughts before we go here? This was a really fun experience, and hopefully you'll do this again with us soon, because we always would love to have volunteers for staff, because it's fun to watch the races, but it's also fun to, play a part in the broadcast too.
Yeah, it was good. I appreciate you letting me take a chance on getting involved, and it was quite a wacky race to start out with, and I will definitely be signing up to do something else. And thanks for everybody who watched and everybody who ran for us.
All right, cool. Thank you so much again, SpeedGaming, for allowing us to have our weekly slot here on Wednesday. We'll be back next week. We have already penciled in something a bit more standard. It's a Ultros League Elixir B showdown. So it is not the top division, but the second division, basically. So really high tier runners going at it next week with their race seeds for our standard Ultros League. And as I mentioned a couple of times, ff6worldscollide.com is the website where you can go and start to play the game for yourself. There's a link to the Discord where we'll be more than willing to help you out and point you in the right direction as to how to get started and things to do and answer whatever questions you may have. So thank you so much, everybody, for hanging out with us for a little bit, and we'll see you all next week. Peace out now.